Alrighty, everyone, let's get started. Thank you for joining me. It's always good to see a number of you here on Fridays. It's usually my lowest attendance. People tend to look at Fridays a little bit differently than the rest of the week, and it's the end of the week. And we form bad habits when we're in high school, and if we're entrepreneurs now or salespeople now working on our own, and worked for somebody else on a salary. Fridays is always that relaxed day where you just don't work as hard, and your assumptions are everyone else isn't working as hard. And my comments to that whole idea is that really Friday is the day you should work twice as hard because everyone else is working half as hard if you want the same results. And so I've tried to keep that philosophy in the things that I've done for quite some time. This morning's mindset is kind of based on a conversation that I had where I feel like I gave sort of bad advice, although I realized that it was actually not bad advice. It was just more that most people have to hear it that way in order to get really, really focused on the things that they're doing in life. So there's a very popular idea out there right now that work-life balance is false. It's not a real thing. It's that you just pursue what it is that you want in life, and it's not about whether or not you can balance your work and life. And there's some really famous trainers that very recently have kind of made this a big measure. In fact, one that most of you are very familiar with. I've got a slide with him on it here in just a minute. And so when you're an entrepreneur, if you're in sales, if you're really trying to make it on your own, you've realized that you do have to work a lot. You have to be very disciplined in the time that you put into your business. Well, I currently run a national sales organization in 12 brands, joint ventures, as well as personally owned companies. And I have over 30 employees direct and around 60 employees in my extended family over at Apogee and Bent. And so I'm a very busy individual. I have weeks that go by sometimes where I don't do as well as other weeks, so things aren't always perfect. But I absolutely hope, at least for you and anyone who's ever watched this video later, want to bring a very important measure to your existence. Okay, work-life balance is very possible. Okay, and when you hear a lot of these big trainers and a lot of these teachers out there, some of them multimillionaires, say that that's BS and that's not true, and you just pursue what it is that you're doing, um, it's starting to get all over LinkedIn. I see it popping up on Facebook. How everyone's like, that's a myth. Work-life balance is a myth. What's a myth is lack of discipline. And so I want to kind of start off a little bit, and hopefully my mindset won't go too long today, but I think this one's extremely important for any of you that are out there really pursuing the businesses and the successes that you want in life. This is extremely important. Okay, so the reality is, if I'm a martial artist, there's a big difference between someone who's a brown belt and, say, Bruce Lee. Okay, there's a huge difference. And someone who's a brown belt, let's just say, and again, it's kind of a bad comparison because Bruce Lee was actually a kung fu artist and they don't have belts, but this is just a comparison. That individual is going to have a certain level of skill and discipline. Okay, skill and discipline are the bedfellows of success. And that individual may have a certain level of ability, but not the same ability as Bruce Lee because he doesn't have as much skill and discipline as he does. So the truth is, and I told this guy the truth yesterday, he was a gentleman that was getting into our sales program, kind of talking a little bit about how he wanted to organize the things that he's doing. And I say, listen, man, if you're really going to get out there and do something, you've got to be very single-minded about it and holistic about it. You've got to go with all of your might. You really have to put everything in. And I made the mistake even saying, you got to look at work-life balance as something that's a myth. I said it out loud and I thought to myself, I'm like, it probably is true for most people. That's probably not bad advice for most people because most people in the business development world that are doing and pursuing their dreams are the brown belts. Okay, they're working super hard, working late nights. Even Tony Robbins was talking about how if once you get off work, you got to go to work, right? You got to go to your next job, which is you, right? If you're working somewhere else, then after 5 o'clock, because between 5 o'clock and 11 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the morning, that's you. So That's not bad advice. All right. It's not bad advice to say that if you really want something, you've got to put all of your effort into it and you got to work super hard. But there's also a level that you can achieve. And I'm not saying I'm perfect, but I've been working as a professional now for 18 years. I've been an entrepreneur and an owner and a business manager for about 15 years solely. I've been either the CEO or the managing partner of most of the things that I've built. And so I have constantly struggled with this idea of work-life balance. I've been working late at night, not getting enough sleep, sitting around with my wife, talking about how unhealthy that I feel. These are things that have happened to me in the past, and just pursuing everything that I had to do. Because in my world, a lot of times I've got to make sure there's a very large amount of overhead covered all the time because of everyone that works for me, the cost of the buildings that we have. But the reality is, if you're super disciplined, you absolutely can balance work and family. And don't let anybody ever convince you that's not true. You do have to be super disciplined. So work-life balance is the privilege of the super disciplined. If you're going to crush it, you must design your life. Okay, that's very important. I can't even remember what book I read that in. I read a lot of books, but that was one of my favorite comments ever. Is if you want to be successful, you have to design your life. It has to be built by design, right? You look at that in a miniature of having goals and plans, but really it's all about managing everything, your time management, and having a very, very strong control on that. Now, that is something that I do quite well. Now, not that I do it extremely well all the time. We're going to show you a little bit of stuff here in a minute to kind of go through that. But the things that you've got to be conscious of, the major things, is what are you eating? Okay, when are you eating it? When are you sleeping? And what are your exercise periods? Okay, those are four very important things, because if you got terrible nutrition, that's not me here to tell you how to eat right. I mean, there's stuff all over YouTube, everywhere else. There's so much good nutrition information out there. If you're not eating properly, that's going to stop you from being able to control your time management. You won't be able to design your life the way you want because your body's not going to feel well. If you don't control when your eating periods are, okay, and I'm going to explain to you what I do, and I'm not saying everybody should do it the way I do, but I do it the way I do in order to facilitate my ability to be successful on a daily basis. Okay, that's why I do it the way I do it. Everyone's going to be a little bit different. Sleeping periods, you have to be super disciplined. You've got to go to bed at the same time. You've got to get up at the same time. You've got to have a period where you've drained the business out of your mind enough that you're not basically working still all through the night and all through your dreams. Sleeping's very important. And then you need to exercise, absolutely have to. So I'm not here to talk about those things specifically, but they are kind of indicative of the rest of my presentation here. So this is my week. I work 70 hours a week, okay, consistently. If anything, I might creep up to 71 hours once in a while if I'm just finishing stuff up at the end of my day. But I have a 70-hour work week, okay? Most people that get into this passionate entrepreneurial, work-life myth, I'm going to work, and you've probably done this yourself. I've done this myself. Is you'll end up having an 80 to 90-hour work week, and then the very next week you're just wiped out. You're useless. Okay, so the reality is I work exactly 70 hours a week. I'm going to show you guys how I do that and how I keep focused during the day with all the things that I have to do. I'm going to share a little bit of my schedule with you. So I work out 14 hours a week. Now, one of those hours a day is I literally walk to work. And so I live about 1.4 miles from my office, and I get out of bed. I already have everything prepared, the clothes I'm going to wear. My shake that I drink in the morning is already prepared. I basically just reach in the fridge and dump my powder into my blender, and I'm literally, from the time I get out of bed till the time I walk out the door, it's about 6 to 7 minutes. And then I walk. I try to get a good pace so I get good exercise that way. And then every day that I get home, 7 days a week, me and my wife do the Insanity program by Beachbody. And now I'm not always doing that perfectly. I have low periods like everybody. This is just the design of how I get all of the times I need in for exercise. Now, not everyone has to do that. You can exercise 3 or 4 times a week. Maybe you're a gym rat and you're constantly in the gym. But if you're going to be an entrepreneur and you're going to be successful, you really have to think about how you're managing your time. Maybe you can't spend 5 hours a day in the gym. Maybe it is more important to put money in your wallet rather than pumping up the muscles on your arms. You got to think about how you're balancing those things out. But my time with family right here, okay, and I combine that with personal time. Most of my personal pursuits are like reading and things that I do at home a lot of times. But my time with family is 20.5 hours a week. Okay, I'm going to show you exactly how I do this. And believe me, I get a tremendous amount done every day, every week. Okay, I used to do less, and I've noticed that over time, as I've kept more and more disciplined and designed my life better and followed it more often, that I'll have a day or even 2 days where I'll sit back and go, man, I did more today than I did the entire last week. Now, if any of you have ever had a day like that, those are the times when you kind of sit back and go, how is it that I've been wasting so much time? You know, where I felt like I was actually working so hard, but how did I get so much more done today than I did the entire last week? So you end up having things like that happen. But we're going to talk a little bit about how that works for me. Now, this is something I just want people to look out for. Okay, I love this guy. Okay, if any of you are into his social media stuff, he's a real straightforward guy. Love him to death. I watch a lot of his stuff. But he's also one of the people out there that are saying that the work-life balance idea is not true, that it doesn't exist. And it's indicative of his personal decisions about how he decided to live his life, not about whether or not an individual that finds family to be important. I have 6 children, 5.5. Okay, I've got one on the way, so I consider that 6. I love my kids. I like hanging out with my kids. I love spending time with my wife. I like spending time reading books. Okay, I like doing some things recreationally when I have the time, and I make the time. I'll show you how I do that. But people like this, and now it's starting to kind of float everywhere into the personal development world, that are out there saying that work-life balance is a myth. You got to not believe that. What it is it is a myth if you're going to operate like a brown belt. You better believe it. If you're only going to get to a certain level of discipline and the pursuits that you have personally are not scheduled properly, and you're not managing your day the right way, then yeah, you might have to give the mentality that I've always got to be working in order to really make it. I've got to be up until midnight just pursuing my dreams. Maybe you just need to be a lot more disciplined, okay? Because there's the first level, which is I'm going to work 40 hours a week and I've got plenty of time for my family, okay? That's the first level. Second level is I'm going to work extremely hard on my business. I'm going to go out there and make as many sales as I can. I'm going to be an entrepreneur, make things happen. And at that level, maybe you're not disciplined enough to think of anything but that. So maybe at that level, the work-life balance is a myth. But you go up to that higher level, that ninja level, that Bruce Lee level, and decide that it's going to be important to you to really design your life and manage your time the right way. Well, you flip right back to the control that you really need, and you can pursue the things that you need to do at that level and spend the time with your family that you need to spend your time with. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about what I do. So this is just, I put this together this morning. This is actually my schedule. Okay, I go to bed at 8 o'clock at night, and I get up at exactly 3:30 in the morning. And I have my shake ready. I get everything put into it. I drink it down. It's nice, big, healthy shake. It's I've got about 5 or 6 different powders I put in there, so I get a nice meal replacement style shake in. And then I walk to work, and it takes me 30 minutes to get to work. I'm here at 4 o'clock in the morning. Okay. Now I used to work out in the morning with my wife, but we switched that a little bit. So this is currently the schedule that I follow. Right. So if you look, I work 7 days a week. Okay, I absolutely do. I'm not saying that you don't have to work extremely hard to get the things out of life that you want. Okay, that would be me making a false statement, and I'm not going to make a false statement. You can't work a 40-hour work week and expect to run a business and be successful. Okay, not unless you've got great funding and other partners. Okay, so I do work 7 days a week. I get here at 4 o'clock in the morning every single day, 7 days a week. Okay. Monday through Thursday, I'm here till 5. And when 5 o'clock comes, I plug in my phone. I leave it at work. I don't take it home. My phone stays at work. Sometimes I'll get a frustrated partner here and there that's trying to call me at 7 o'clock at night because they're at a bar somewhere with a potential new client or partner, and they're excited about me getting on the phone to speak with them, and they don't get anybody answering the phone because they know that I am here only under certain circumstances, under certain periods. But look at this. I'm here available 7 days a week. So I get here at 4 o'clock in the morning on Monday through Thursday. I'm here till 5. Fridays, which is today, okay, I leave at 3. Okay, but that is still an extremely full day. And if you notice, I do not have a lunch period. Okay, I don't stop for lunch. I don't take a break in the middle of my day. And a lot of people may need that. Maybe you need a snack because of your blood sugar levels. But I don't leave during the day. And I also do not eat anything else after I drink my shake in the morning because all that does is slow me down. So when we're talking about eating periods, like I was talking about before, any of you that eat lunch every single day and take the time, it's time to go to lunch, go to the restaurant. Maybe there's some reasons you're doing that for business because you're meeting with people. That's always a little different. But forcing your body to digest food in the middle of your workday is counterproductive. Okay. And there's many, many articles out there and information about intermittent fasting. And I'm not saying that's what you pursue. My eating schedule is actually a little bit closer to what intermittent fasting is. I'm off by a couple hours, but I'm also not trying to massively follow that. I really follow my eating schedule based on the way I've actually set up my days. So I get here at 4 o'clock in the morning. I work until I leave every single day. Okay. Now, if you're like, man, I would just burn out. Guess what? Yeah, you will when you start. You better believe it. And I'm not saying everybody follows this schedule. I'm just giving you guys a really clear idea of how you can personally manage things to still be very successful and spend the time with your families that matter. Okay. So on a consistent basis, you'll notice I work out every single day with my wife. That's an hour I get to spend with my beautiful wife every single day, and she looks forward to it. Soon as I get home, again, I walk. She's got my workout drink ready. She's already in her clothes. She's ready to go, ready to turn it on. And I could tell you half the time I walk in, just like, oh my gosh, I've got to do this now. But it's time that we've dedicated with each other to things that are important to us physically, and it's such a great way for me to end my day because I get in and me and my wife, we work out for a solid hour. And then at that point, I either eat something or I do another shake. I don't eat food every single day. I do that a few times a week. I do shakes a lot, mainly because it just kind of keeps the nutrition levels in my body super high and I don't get bogged down. So we work out. I have a meal or potentially a shake right after we're done. And then every day, even on my busiest days, I've still got 6:30 to 8 o'clock with my family. Okay. When Fridays come, I leave at 3. But I've been there since 4 o'clock. That's an 11-hour day that I put in on a Friday. Okay. And I leave at 3. And man, it is a big deal at my house. Okay. Dad's going to be off at 3. My girls are with me this weekend. And I mean this week, apologize. And we're going to go see a movie. They're already planning which movie we're going to go see. They know Dad's going to be done at 3 o'clock. I'm going to walk out of here, leave my phone on my desk at 3 o'clock. I'm finished. Okay. I'm going to go work out with my wife. We're going to go watch a movie. I've got good 3.5 hours to hang out with my kids. Saturday comes. Okay. I'm still here 8 hours in the morning on Saturday because I get here at 4. That's for most people, that's a full day. That's a full 8-hour day. I'm here for a full 8 hours. I leave at noon, and that gives me the entire afternoon. And that's when me and my family usually plan things, right? We're going to go do something. We're going to go hang out somewhere. Now, obviously, there's periods where you're leaving for a couple of days on a vacation or whatever it might be. I still do those things, not as frequently as a lot of people do. Those pursuits maybe a couple times a year. I think they're important as well. I am more focused on fitting the time that I can really garner with my family in to the periods that I've designed into my business model so that everything that I'm doing is consistently successful. We find things to do locally. We find things that we can get out to for the full afternoon. Okay. So, and then of course on Sundays, I work until 2 and I'm off at 2 and we have a larger period then. It's 20.5 hours a week that I'm not working or working out, that I am there dedicated, focused on my kids and focused on my wife. Okay. So I'm sorry to say it to any of these other personal development guys that are out there that are training people, but you absolutely can balance a very demanding entrepreneurship and business model at 70 hours a week is what I do. You just have to be really disciplined. You have to get up early. I mean, I don't know how many of you get up at 3:30 in the morning or would ever plan to, okay? But the reality is, I have massively designed my life because I'm going to have both. I will pursue my business and I will pursue my family life. Now, this goes all the way into what you're doing during the day because even if you have this 70 hours, one of the things that a lot of us run into is the inability to manage things sequentially during the day. So you don't manage the day properly. You end up on a phone call that wasn't planned. You don't have people set a calendar appointment with you. They just call you out of the blue. Now, you can't control that with certain partnerships. Some people just aren't disciplined in that way. So you have to be flexible, of course. But I want to show you what my week looked like. This is literally the week we're in, Friday being the end of this week. So this is my week, okay? This is what happened in my life this week. Now, if you'll notice, today's Friday, and I was working on this earlier this morning. This is what my days usually look like. A lot of the stuff you see here with pockets is because I've moved some of the meetings forward. But I have things planned, designed. The individuals that work with me in my sales organization, some of you are here on this call, you know that you can get my time, but it's all calendarized. It's all based off of setting time with me so that I can pursue those conversations with you. And I'm more available than most people simply because I have the weekend open during the times that I work as well. That's easier for some of my salespeople to get in some conversation with me. But these are either discovery calls or partnership discussions or whatever they might be that I have on a weekly basis. I am extremely disciplined with my time, okay? And do not shy away from filling up your schedule. Let me tell you why. Because even if you're super disciplined, you're going to have at least 4 or 5 people, maybe 2 or 3 people every day that don't make the meeting or they're late. So if you've got something to write, let's say an email, or you've got to put together a performa, or you've got to put something on the table that you need to get done before the end of the day, even if you've got a full day of communication, you're gonna have the time. You just have to remember in your mind that as soon as that pocket shows up, man, that ain't no time to relax. That's not time to be like, well, he didn't show up. I guess I'll walk over to the water cooler, right? You go, okay, didn't show up. I needed to get this thing done, place it in that pocket, get yourself on it, get it finished. You found a pocket. So that's how I pursue almost everything that I do on a daily basis. So anyways, I thought this was a really important subject. I knew it was going to take a little bit longer. Again, a lot of these personal development guys out there, I love them to death. Okay, I respect them, but I just don't like that idea that work-life balance is a myth. Okay, now again, that may be a better way of getting someone into working more when they're not disciplined enough to even pursue things as an entrepreneur to begin with. But there is a Bruce Lee ninja level where if you manage and you design your life the right way and you get the commitments from the people in your life, talk to your wife, talk to your kids. I'm going to be available at exactly these times. This is what my schedule looks like. Get their agreement with you so that you can do it properly. There's absolutely a way to do it and still have all the time with the family that you need. So anyways, guys, it's Friday. I hope you have a great day. I'm going to be off at 3, but I will be working super hard until then. Hopefully there's time for us to speak of the future. I've got a lot of my salespeople on here today, so that's pretty awesome. I look forward to the next time we have the morning mindset. It will be Monday. I will be here all next week, so let's get out there and make it a strong day.